The morning sun painted Haven's Ridge in shades of gold and green. Jiwoo ran through the tall grass behind her family's farm, laughing as Mr. Grumbles chased after her. The honey badger was not very fast, but he was determined. His small legs moved quickly as he huffed and snorted, trying to keep up with the 8-year-old girl. Jiwoo stopped near the edge of the forest and waited for her friend. Mr. Grumbles caught up and immediately started digging at the base of a tree. Dirt flew everywhere. Jiwoo giggled and pulled out her datapad. She was supposed to collect samples of local plants for her school project. Her teacher wanted to know which earth plants grew well on Haven's Ridge and which ones struggled. The colony had been on this planet for almost 10 years now. Jiwoo's parents were part of the first group of settlers. Her father, Dae-hyun, worked as a farmer now, but he used to be a military engineer back on Earth. Her mother, Yoo-jin, ran the medical center in the main settlement. They had brought Mr. Grumbles with them as part of something called the Exotic Animal Program. The colony leaders thought having Earth animals would help people feel more at home. Jiwoo loved Mr. Grumbles more than anything. He slept at the foot of her bed every night. He followed her everywhere during the day. When she was sad, he would climb into her lap and make soft grunting sounds. Her father said honey badgers were supposed to be fierce and dangerous, but Mr. Grumbles was gentle with Jiwoo. Well, mostly gentle. He had bitten her once when she tried to take away a dead mouse he found. After that, Jiwoo learned to let him keep his prizes. The forest was quiet and peaceful. Birds chirped in the trees. Strange insects buzzed past Jiwoo's head. She carefully cut a piece of vine from a nearby plant and put it in her collection bag. Mr. Grumbles had stopped digging and was now sniffing the air. His nose twitched rapidly. Jiwoo looked up at the sky. It was clear and blue, just like Earth's sky. That was one reason her parents chose Haven's Ridge. The planet was so similar to home. The air was breathable. The water was clean. The temperature was comfortable. It was perfect for humans who wanted a quiet life away from the crowded core worlds. The colony only had about 300 people. Everyone knew everyone else. Jiwoo went to school with 12 other children. They had one teacher for all ages. The main settlement had a medical center, a general store, a small spaceport, and a few dozen houses. It was simple and safe. The colony had defense systems, but they rarely turned them on. Nothing dangerous ever happened this far from the center of human space. Mr. Grumbles started making a strange sound. It was low and rumbling, coming from deep in his chest. Jiwoo had never heard him make that noise before. She knelt down beside him and stroked his rough fur. "What's wrong, Mr. Grumbles?" she asked. The honey badger did not look at her. He kept staring at the sky, his body tense. The hair on his back stood up straight. Jiwoo followed his gaze but saw nothing unusual. Just blue sky and white clouds, then something changed. The air felt different. Jiwoo could not explain it, but something was wrong. The birds stopped singing. The insects went silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Far above the planet, something was happening. A ship dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of energy. It was not a human ship. The vessel was dark and angular, covered in strange symbols. Inside the ship, Captain Velorth stood on his command bridge and smiled. His teeth were sharp and his eyes were cold. "Sir, we have a scan of the surface," said Takrin, his first officer. "One small settlement. Approximately 300 humans. Minimal defense systems. No military vessels in orbit." Velorth laughed. His species, the Kravix, had raided dozens of worlds. They were pirates and slavers, feared across the outer rim. Humans were new to this part of space, soft and unprepared. This would be easy prey. "Prepare landing teams," Velorth ordered. "Take whatever supplies we need. If anyone resists, make examples of them. If we find anyone valuable, bring them to the ship. We can sell them to the mining colonies." Back on the surface, alarms started blaring in the settlement. Dae-hyun was working in his field when he heard the warning sirens. He dropped his tools and ran toward the house. His military training came back instantly. He knew that sound. It meant danger. Yoo-jin was at the medical center when the alarms went off. She quickly started moving patients to the underground shelter. Other colonists ran through the streets, confused and frightened. Most of them had never experienced an attack before. They did not know what to do. At the spaceport, the colony administrator tried to send a distress signal to the nearest human military base. But the base was 3 days away at fastest speed. They were on their own. Dae-hyun reached his house and went straight to the old storage room. He pushed aside boxes until he found what he was looking for. A locked metal case. Inside were things from his military days: weapons, armor, equipment he hoped he would never need again. His hands shook as he opened the case. In the forest, Jiwoo finally heard the sirens. The sound was faint but clear. She stood up, her heart beating fast. Mr. Grumbles was pacing back and forth now, making that rumbling sound constantly. Jiwoo climbed the nearest tree, something her father had taught her. From high up, she could see the settlement in the distance. Smoke was rising from several buildings. Strange lights flashed in the sky. Then she saw them. Dark shapes falling from above. Landing pods. Dozens of them. Her father's words echoed in her mind. He had made her practice emergency drills. If something bad happens and you are far from home, hide and stay quiet. Find shelter. Wait for help, but Jiwoo was far from home, very far. And those things in the sky were getting closer. Mr. Grumbles barked sharply. It was not his normal bark. It was a warning. Jiwoo climbed down from the tree and looked around frantically. Which way should she run? Toward home? Deeper into the forest? One of the landing pods came down nearby. It hit the ground with a heavy thud, crushing trees and sending up a cloud of dust. Jiwoo hid behind a large boulder and pulled Mr. Grumbles close. The honey badger's body was rigid with tension. The pod door opened with a hiss. 4 large shapes stepped out. They were tall, much taller than humans. They wore armor and carried weapons that glowed with energy. One of them pulled out a scanning device and pointed it in different directions. Human life sign detected, the creature said in a harsh, grating voice. Single target, small, approximately 50 meters northeast. Another creature laughed. Probably a child. This will be easy. Command wants prisoners for the slave markets. A human child will bring good money. They started walking toward Jiwoo's hiding spot. Their heavy boots crushed the undergrowth. Jiwoo pressed herself against the rock, trying not to breathe. Mr. Grumbles pushed in front of her, placing his body between her and the approaching danger. The creatures came closer. 30 meters. 20 meters. 10 meters, Mr. Grumbles began to growl. Sub-Commander Grathek led his team through the forest with confidence. He had done this hundreds of times before on dozens of different worlds. Humans were weak creatures. They cried easily. They surrendered quickly. A single human child would be even easier. The Kravix could sell her to mining operations that needed small workers for tight spaces. She would bring a good price. Spread out, Grathek ordered his 3 soldiers. Surround the target. Use stun weapons only. We need her alive and undamaged. The Kravix moved through the trees with practiced efficiency. Their scanners showed the human child was hiding behind a large rock just ahead. There was another life form with her. Something small. Probably a pet or local animal. Nothing to worry about. Behind the boulder, Jiwoo could hear them getting closer. Her whole body shook with fear. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. All she could do was hold on to Mr. Grumbles and hope they would not find her. But Mr. Grumbles was not afraid. The honey badger's growl grew deeper and louder. His small eyes fixed on the approaching creatures. Every muscle in his compact body was ready to fight. Jiwoo had seen him fight other animals before. He had killed a snake that came near their house. He had driven away a pack of wild dogs that got too close to the farm. But these were not animals. These were something much bigger and more dangerous. Grathek rounded the boulder and saw the human child. She was small and weak-looking, with tears running down her face. Perfect. Beside her was a strange, furry creature. It was about the size of a small dog, but looked different. Stocky and low to the ground with thick fur and sharp claws. Secure the child, Grathek said. Kill the animal if it causes trouble. One of the Kravix soldiers stepped forward and reached for Jiwoo. That was his mistake. Mr. Grumbles moved faster than anything Grathek had ever seen. One moment the creature was sitting still. The next moment it was flying through the air, claws extended, teeth bared. It hit the soldier in the face, tearing through the gaps in his helmet. The soldier screamed and fell backward, trying to pull the animal off. But Mr. Grumbles held on, biting and clawing with savage intensity. Get it off him, Grathek shouted. Another soldier tried to grab Mr. Grumbles, but the honey badger twisted around and bit his hand hard enough to break through the armor. The soldier howled in pain. Mr. Grumbles dropped to the ground and immediately attacked the third soldier. Going for the weak points in the leg armor, Grathek raised his weapon, but Mr. Grumbles was too fast and too close to his own soldiers. The honey badger moved like a demon, attacking and retreating, never staying in one place long enough to be shot. blood sprayed across the forest floor. Two of Grathek's soldiers were on the ground, writhing in pain. The third was trying to shake Mr. Grumbles off his leg. Jiwoo watched in shock. She had never seen Mr. Grumbles like this. He was always gentle with her, but now he was a wild thing, full of rage and violence. And he was protecting her. "Run, Jiwoo, run!" Her father's voice echoed in her memory from all those practice drills. She finally found her legs and scrambled to her feet. While the Kravix were distracted by Mr. Grumbles, she ran as fast as she could deeper into the forest. Grathek saw the child escaping and cursed. He fired his weapon at the animal, hitting it with a stun blast. Mr. Grumbles flew backward and hit a tree, but instead of staying down like any normal creature, the honey badger shook his head and got back up. The stun blast had barely slowed him down. "What is this thing?" one of the wounded soldiers gasped. Grathek did not know. In all his years of raiding, he had never seen anything like this. The creature should be dead or unconscious. Instead, it was standing between them in the direction the child had run, growling like it wanted more. "Fall back," Grathek ordered. "Call for reinforcements. We need heavy weapons." The Kravik soldiers retreated to their landing pod. Mr. Grumbles did not chase them. Instead, he turned and ran after Jiwoo, following her scent through the forest. Grathek activated his communicator. "This is Ground Team 7 to ship. We need backup. Target is one human child approximately 8 standard years old. She is accompanied by an extremely hostile native predator. Send at least 8 more soldiers with heavy weapons." On the command bridge, Captain Velorth could not believe what he was hearing. "You need reinforcements to capture one child? What kind of predator are you talking about?" "Sir, it is unlike anything in our database. Small but incredibly fast and aggressive. It ignores pain. It knows exactly where our armor is weak. 3 of my soldiers are injured." Velorth's face darkened with anger. This was supposed to be an easy raid. "I am sending reinforcements. But if you fail again, Grathek, you will face consequences." 8 more Kravik soldiers landed in the forest. They brought heavy weapons and wore thicker armor. Grathek showed them the wounds on his soldiers. Deep claw marks, savage bite wounds. The injuries looked like they came from something much larger than the small creature they described. "It is just an animal," said the leader of the new team. "We will kill it and bring you the child." Meanwhile, Jiwoo ran until her lungs burned and her legs ached. She did not know where she was going, only that she had to get away. Behind her, she heard Mr. Grumbles catching up. The honey badger ran beside her, occasionally looking back to check if they were being followed. Jiwoo remembered the caves. Her father had shown them to her last summer. They were deep and dark with many tunnels. If she could reach them, maybe she could hide. She changed direction and headed toward the rocky hills where the caves were located. The Kraviks followed. Their scanners locked on her signal. 12 soldiers now, all determined to capture one small human child. They moved through the forest in formation, weapons ready. They were not taking any chances with the animal this time, but Mr. Grumbles was not finished fighting. As the Kraviks advanced, he circled around behind them. He picked the slowest soldier and attacked from the rear, going for the back of the knees where armor was thinnest. The soldier fell, screaming. Before the others could react, Mr. Grumbles disappeared into the undergrowth. "Stay together," Grathek ordered. "Do not let it separate us." But Mr. Grumbles did not follow normal tactics. He attacked again from a different direction, then again from another angle. Each time he wounded one of the Kraviks and vanished before they could retaliate. The soldiers started to panic. They fired their weapons at shadows and sounds. They hit trees and rocks, but never the small, fast creature that was hunting them. Jiwoo reached the caves and ran inside. The darkness swallowed her. She felt her way along the cold stone walls, moving deeper underground. She could hear the Kraviks behind her, their heavy boots echoing in the tunnels. Mr. Grumbles entered the caves last. He knew this place. He had explored these tunnels with Jiwoo before. In the darkness, he was at home. The Kraviks had technology and weapons, but Mr. Grumbles had something better. He had no fear. The honey badger moved through the black tunnels like a ghost. He could smell the Kraviks, hear their breathing, sense their movements. He picked off the last soldier in line, dragging him into a side passage. The soldiers' screams were cut short. Grathek realized they were losing soldiers. "Lights, use your lights!" The Kraviks activated their helmet lights, but it only helped a little. The tunnels were narrow and twisting. Shadows moved everywhere, and in those shadows something was killing them one by one. "This is insane," one soldier whispered. "We should leave." Let the child go, I know, Graphic said, though his voice shook. The captain wants her. We finish this, but deep in the caves, the captain's wants meant nothing. In the darkness, Mr. Grumbles ruled. Back at the settlement, Dae-Hyun fought alongside the other colonists. The Kravix had superior weapons and armor, but the humans refused to give up. They used farm equipment as weapons. They set traps in the streets. They fought from rooftops and windows. Every meter the Kravix advanced cost them blood. Yujin worked in the underground medical shelter treating wounded colonists. Her hands moved quickly, stopping bleeding and treating burns. She had not heard anything about Jiwoo. She did not know if her daughter was safe or not. But she had to focus on the people in front of her. She had to trust that Dae-Hyun's training would keep their little girl alive. Deep in the caves, Jiwoo felt her way through the darkness. Her hands touched cold, wet stone. Water dripped somewhere nearby. She could hear sounds behind her. The Kravix were coming, but she could also hear other sounds. Screams, shouts, sounds of fighting. Mr. Grumbles was buying her time. The honey badger moved through the tunnels with deadly purpose. He ambushed another Kravix soldier, this time going for the throat where armor ended and flesh began. The soldier fell without a sound. Mr. Grumbles was wounded now. A blade had cut his side. An energy blast had burned his back. But he did not stop. Pain was something he understood and ignored. Grathek had started with 12 soldiers. Now he had 6. 6 trained warriors, and they were losing to one earth animal. The other soldiers were terrified. They fired at every sound, wasting ammunition on empty tunnels. "Sub-Commander, we should retreat," one soldier begged. "This creature is unnatural." "It does not die," Grathek wanted to agree. Everything in him said to run. But Captain Velorth was watching through their helmet cameras. If they failed, if they ran, the punishment would be worse than death. "We use explosives," Grathek decided. "We collapse these tunnels. If we cannot capture the child, we make sure she dies here. The captain will accept that." The soldiers began placing charges at key points in the cave system. They worked quickly, glancing over their shoulders constantly. Mr. Grumbles watched from the shadows. He did not understand explosives or technology, but he understood danger. These creatures were planning something bad. Jiwoo found a small chamber deep in the caves. She remembered this place. Her father had brought her here once. He showed her a hidden exit, a narrow crack that led back to the surface. It was too small for adults, but perfect for children. She felt along the walls until she found it. Behind her, she heard Mr. Grumbles coming. The honey badger limped into the chamber, breathing hard. Jiwoo could see blood on his fur in the dim light from her emergency glow stick. "He had been hurt protecting her, Mr. Grumbles," she whispered, tears running down her face. She hugged him carefully, feeling his small heart beating fast against her chest. The Kravix voices echoed through the tunnels. They were close now. Jiwoo looked at the narrow exit, then at Mr. Grumbles. She could fit through easily. But Mr. Grumbles was bigger. It would be tight. And if the Kravix followed them into this chamber, they would be trapped. Mr. Grumbles seemed to understand. He pulled away from Jiwoo and positioned himself at the chamber entrance. His message was clear. He would hold them here while she escaped. "No," Jiwoo whispered. "No, you have to come with me." But Mr. Grumbles did not move. He just looked at her with those fierce little eyes. And in that moment, Jiwoo understood what real courage looked like. It was not about being big or strong. It was about standing between the people you loved and danger, no matter the cost. The Kravix entered the main tunnel outside the chamber. "Charges are set," one reported. "We have 3 minutes to reach minimum safe distance." "Good," Grathek said. "Let us finish this." They advanced toward the chamber where their scanners showed the human child. But before they could enter, Mr. Grumbles charged out. Even wounded and exhausted, he attacked with the same savage intensity. He went straight for Grathek, the leader, because animals understand hierarchy. Kill the leader and the pack falls apart. Grathek fell backward, trying to protect his face. The other soldiers fired, but they were too close together in the narrow tunnel. Their shots hit each other as much as the honey badger. Mr. Grumbles was everywhere at once, a whirlwind of claws and teeth and unstoppable fury. "The charges!" someone screamed. "We need to get out." The Kravix ran. They abandoned Grathek and fled toward the cave entrance. Mr. Grumbles chased them for a short distance, then turned back. He limped into the chamber where Jiwoo waited. The girl was crawling through the narrow exit. She looked back at him, her face full of tears. Please, Mr. Grumbles, please come, the honey badger tried. He pushed his body into the narrow crack. But he was too big. His shoulders were too wide. He pushed harder, ignoring the pain as stones scraped his wounded side. For a moment, it seemed like he might make it. Then his strength failed. He fell back into the chamber. The explosions began. The sound was deafening. The entire cave system shook. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Dust filled the air. Jiwoo screamed as she was thrown forward through the narrow crack. She tumbled out onto the hillside outside, rolling down into the grass. Behind her, the cave entrance collapsed. Tons of rock fell, sealing the tunnels completely. The sound of the explosions echoed across the forest. Then there was silence. Jiwoo lay in the grass, struggling to breathe. Dust covered her face and clothes. Her arms were scratched and bleeding, but she was alive. She got to her feet and stared at the collapsed cave entrance. "Mr. Grumbles," she whispered. Then louder, "Mr. Grumbles." There was no answer. Just piles of broken rock where the cave used to be. Jiwoo fell to her knees and began pulling at the stones with her bare hands. They were too heavy, too many. She could not move them. She collapsed, sobbing. Her best friend was gone. The one who had protected her, fought for her, died for her. Mr. Grumbles was buried under all that rock, and it was because of her. She should have made him go first. She should have found another way. Above her in the sky, the Kravik ship continued its attack on the settlement. Jiwoo looked up through her tears. She could see smoke rising from her home. Her parents were there, fighting, maybe dying, while she sat here crying. Something changed inside Jiwoo in that moment. The fear burned away, replaced by something hotter, anger. Her father always said that anger was dangerous if you could not control it, but anger could also give you strength when you had nothing else left. She wiped her eyes and stood up. If Mr. Grumbles could fight those monsters, so could she. She was her father's daughter. He had taught her things, useful things. She just had to remember. Jiwoo started walking toward the settlement. Each step was hard, but she did not stop. She would find a way to fight. She would make these creatures pay for what they did. Behind her, the pile of rocks shifted slightly. A stone rolled down the side of the collapsed entrance. Then another. Something was moving under there. Something that refused to die. A bloody paw pushed through a gap in the rocks. Then another paw. Mr. Grumbles dragged himself out of a side tunnel that had partially survived the collapse. He was covered in dust and blood. Part of his ear was missing. He could barely walk, but he was alive. And he saw Jiwoo walking away toward danger. The honey badger made a sound, half bark and half cough. Jiwoo stopped and turned around. For a moment, she could not believe what she was seeing. Then she ran back and dropped to her knees beside him. "You are alive. You are alive!" Mr. Grumbles leaned against her, too tired to stand on his own. But his eyes were still fierce, still determined. He had followed her this far. He would not stop now. Jiwoo looked toward the settlement, then down at her wounded friend. "Can you walk?" Mr. Grumbles took a shaky step forward. Then another. He could walk, barely, but he could walk. "Okay," Jiwoo said, her voice stronger now. "Let's go home. Let's go make them sorry they ever came here." The girl and the honey badger started walking together. They moved slowly, but they moved forward. Above them, the Kravik ship dominated the sky. The aliens thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming for them. Jiwoo and Mr. Grumbles moved through the destroyed outskirts of the settlement. Buildings were burning. Bodies lay in the streets, both human and Kraviks. The sounds of fighting came from the center of town where her father and the other colonists were making their last stand. The girl kept low, moving from cover to cover like her father had taught her. Mr. Grumbles stayed close, his nose constantly testing the air. Even wounded and exhausted, he was alert for danger. They passed a Kravik soldier standing guard at a corner. The alien was watching the main battle and did not see them approach. Mr. Grumbles looked up at Jiwoo as if asking permission. She nodded. The honey badger moved silently across the rubble and attacked the guard's legs from behind. The Kraviks fell, and before he could call for help, Jiwoo picked up a metal bar from the debris and hit him in the head. It felt wrong. She had never hurt anyone before. But these creatures had attacked her home and tried to kill her. This was war. They searched the body and found a communicator. Jiwoo had learned about alien technology in school. Most species use similar basic designs. She managed to turn it on and listened to the Kravik's command channel. They were speaking in their own language, but her datapad had a translation program. She linked the devices together and started understanding their words. All units report. Ground assault is 70% complete. Human resistance is weakening. Captain Velorth wants valuable prisoners for the slave markets. Kill the rest. Jiwoo's hands shook with rage. Slave markets. They wanted to make her people into slaves. She thought about her mother healing the wounded, her father protecting their home, all the families she knew. These monsters wanted to destroy everything. She remembered her father's workshop. It was on the edge of the settlement, away from the main fighting. If she could reach it, she might find something useful. Her father kept all his old military equipment there. They moved carefully through the ruins. Several times they had to hide as Kravik's patrols passed by. Each time Mr. Grumbles tensed, ready to fight. But Jiwoo held him back. They needed to be smart. Fighting every enemy they saw would get them killed. The workshop was partially damaged but still standing. Jiwoo broke in through a side window. Inside, everything was a mess. Shelves had fallen over. Tools were scattered everywhere. But the back room, where her father kept his locked cases, was intact. Jiwoo found the cases and tried to remember the code. Her father had shown her once, making her memorize it. Just in case, he had said. She thought hard, trying to focus past her fear and anger. Numbers. There was a pattern. Her birthday. Her mother's birthday. She tried the combination, and the first case opened. Inside were weapons. Real military weapons, not the farming tools the colonists had been using. There was a rifle too big for Jiwoo to use properly. There were grenades. There was something her father called a tactical vest with armor plates. And there was a small pistol that might work for someone her size. Mr. Grumbles explored the workshop, sniffing at everything. He found some emergency rations and ate them quickly. He needed energy. His wounds had stopped bleeding, but he was weak. Jiwoo opened another case and found communications equipment. This was better than the stolen Kravik's communicator. This was human military technology. She turned it on and accessed the command channel her father had set up for the colony defense. "This is Jiwoo," she said quietly into the microphone. "Can anyone hear me?" Static. Then her father's voice, rough and tired. "Jiwoo, baby, is that you? Where are you?" "I am at your workshop." "Dad, I am okay. Mr. Grumbles is with me. We are both okay." There was a long silence. Then she heard her father's voice break. "Thank God. Thank God. Stay there, honey. Stay hidden. We will come get you when we can." "No, Dad, I want to help. I found your equipment. I want to fight." "Absolutely not. You are 8 years old. You stay hidden." "Dad, they tried to kill me. They killed Mr. Grumbles, but he did not die. We fought them in the caves. We can fight them here too." Another silence. When her father spoke again, his voice was different, harder. "What equipment did you find?" Jiwoo described what was in the cases. Her father listened, and she could hear him thinking. "Okay, listen carefully. There is a fuel depot 3 blocks north of the workshop. The Kraviks are using it as a staging area. I have been trying to destroy it, but we cannot get close enough. If you can set charges there and detonate them, it would help us a lot. But Jiwoo, if it is too dangerous, you run. Do you understand? You run and hide and stay alive. Nothing is more important than that." "I understand, Dad. I love you." "I love you too, baby. Be careful." Jiwoo gathered supplies. She took grenades and put them in a bag. She found the detonators her father used for clearing rocks from fields. She took the small pistol and made sure she knew how to use it. Her father had taught her gun safety, even though her mother did not like it. Now she was grateful for those lessons. Mr. Grumbles watched her prepare. The honey badger seemed to understand they were going back into danger. He positioned himself by the door, ready to lead the way. They moved through the settlement toward the fuel depot. Jiwoo could see Kravik soldiers everywhere now. They were bringing equipment out of the human buildings, stealing everything valuable. Some were dragging wounded colonists toward their landing pods. The fuel depot was exactly where her father said, a large building with storage tanks. At least 20 Kravik soldiers were there, loading supplies onto transport vehicles. They looked relaxed. They thought they had won. Jiwoo studied the area. There was no way to get close without being seen. The grenades would not be enough to destroy the whole depot. She needed something bigger. Then she remembered. Her father kept explosive mining charges in his workshop, the ones used for breaking up large rocks. If she could place those near the fuel tanks and set them off, the whole depot would explode. They went back to the workshop and Jiwoo found the mining charges. Each one was heavy, almost too heavy for her to carry. She could manage 2 of them. She loaded them carefully into the bag with the detonators. Mr. Grumbles helped by scouting ahead. The honey badger would move forward, check for danger, then come back for Jiwoo. They worked as a team like they always had. But this time, instead of exploring the forest, they were moving through a war zone. They reached a position near the fuel depot. Jiwoo could see the fuel tanks clearly from here. There was a drainage ditch that ran close to the building. If she could crawl through that ditch, she might be able to place the charges without being seen. "Stay here," she whispered to Mr. Grumbles. "I will be right back." But the honey badger shook his head. He started into the ditch first. Jiwoo realized he was right. He should go first. He was lower, harder to see, and if there was danger, he could handle it better than her. They crawled through the ditch together. It smelled bad and the water was dirty, but Jiwoo did not care. They reached the base of the nearest fuel tank. Jiwoo placed the first mining charge and armed it. Then she crawled to the second tank and placed the other charge. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the detonator. A Kravik soldier walked past just meters away. Jiwoo pressed herself flat in the ditch. Mr. Grumbles did not move. They waited until the soldier passed. Then they crawled back the way they came as quickly as they could. They reached safe distance behind a collapsed building. Jiwoo pulled out her father's communicator. "Dad, I am in position. The charges are set. Should I do it now?" Her father's voice was tense. "Wait for my signal. We are going to attack at the same time. It will confuse them. Get ready. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, now." Jiwoo pressed the detonator button. The explosion was massive. The fuel depot erupted in a fireball that rose high into the sky. The shockwave knocked Jiwoo down. Flames and debris flew everywhere. Secondary explosions followed as fuel tanks ruptured and ignited. The entire area became an inferno. Kravik soldiers screamed and ran from the flames. Many did not make it out. The explosion destroyed vehicles, equipment, and supplies. Most importantly, it destroyed their confidence. The Kraviks had thought this would be an easy raid. Now they realized these humans would fight to the death. At the settlement center, Daehyun saw the explosion and rallied the colonists. "That's my daughter. Now push forward. Make them pay for every meter." The colonists charged with renewed energy. They had been losing, but now they had hope. If an 8-year-old girl could strike such a blow, they could keep fighting. On his command bridge, Captain Velorth watched the fuel depot burn. His face twisted with rage. One human child had destroyed significant resources and killed many of his soldiers. This was unacceptable. This was humiliating. "I want that child found and killed," he roared. "I want her head brought to me. I will personally destroy everyone she has ever known. Prepare my assault team. I am going down there myself." The explosion changed everything. Colonists who had been ready to give up found new courage. They stopped retreating and started pushing back. Daehyun led groups of farmers and shopkeepers against trained Kravik soldiers, and somehow they were winning. Every colonist fought harder, knowing that a little girl and a honey badger were out there fighting too. Yujin heard about what her daughter had done through the communication network. She wanted to cry and scream at the same time. Pride and terror mixed together. Her baby was in danger, but her baby was also a warrior. Yujin worked faster, treating wounded colonists and sending them back to fight. Everyone had to do their part. Jiwoo and Mr. Grumbles moved through the settlement like ghosts. They ambushed small Kravik's patrols. Jiwoo would create distractions while Mr. Grumbles attacked from behind. They destroyed equipment. They set fire to supplies. They made the Kraviks afraid to walk down empty streets. Word spread among the Kravik soldiers about a demon creature that appeared from nowhere, killed without mercy, and vanished into shadows. Some said it was a curse. Others said it was a native predator defending its territory. None of them wanted to encounter it. Captain Velorth landed with his elite guard, 20 of the best Kravik's warriors in his fleet. They wore heavier armor and carried more powerful weapons. They were trained killers who had fought in a dozen wars. They moved toward the settlement center, crushing any resistance they found. Velorth accessed the stolen human communication network and broadcast a message. His voice boomed through every speaker in the settlement. "Humans of this pathetic colony, you are defeated. Surrender now, and some of you will be allowed to live as slaves. Continue fighting, and every one of you will die slowly. I will start with the child who destroyed my fuel depot. Bring her to me, and I might show mercy to the rest." Daehyun heard the message and felt ice in his veins. They knew about Jiwoo. They were hunting for her specifically. He tried to contact her on the communicator. Jiwoo, wherever you are, hide. Stay hidden. Do not engage the enemy. Do you hear me? But Jiwoo did not answer. She had heard the captain's message and she was angry. These creatures had come to her world. They had attacked her home. They had tried to kill her and Mr. Grumbles, and now they wanted her to hide. No, she said to Mr. Grumbles, we are done hiding. If he wants to find me, let him find me. She used the Kravix communicator she had taken earlier and switched to their command frequency. She spoke clearly, her voice young but steady. Captain Velorth, this is Jiwoo. You want me? Come and get me. I will be at the school. Just you and me, unless you are scared of an 8-year-old girl. Velorth heard the message and laughed. The sound was cold and cruel. The child challenges me? Excellent. I will enjoy breaking her. All units stay back. She is mine. The Kravix captain and his elite guard marched toward the school. It was a small building at the edge of the settlement. Most of it was destroyed now, with walls collapsed and the roof partially caved in. Velorth thought it was fitting. He would kill the child in the ruins of her own school. It would break the spirit of these humans completely. Jiwoo waited in what used to be her classroom. She had prepared as well as she could. Mr. Grumbles sat beside her, cleaned of blood and dirt. His wounds were covered with bandages made from torn cloth. He looked at Jiwoo with those fierce little eyes, ready for one more fight. I am scared, Jiwoo admitted to him. But Dad always said being scared is okay. Being brave means doing what is right even when you are scared. Mr. Grumbles made a soft sound and pressed against her leg. They had come so far together. From the forest to the caves to the burning settlement, they had survived everything the galaxy threw at them. They would survive this too, or they would go down fighting. Velorth entered the school with his guards. He was huge, almost 3 meters tall. His armor was decorated with symbols of his victories. His weapons could cut through steel. He saw the small human child standing in the ruined classroom with her animal beside her, and he smiled. You are a brave little thing, Velorth said. Stupid but brave. I almost admire you. Almost. But you have cost me resources and reputation. For that you will die badly. First I will kill your pet while you watch. Then I will kill you slowly. Then I will kill everyone you have ever known. Jiwoo stood her ground. Her hands were shaking, but she did not run. You talk too much. My father says people who talk too much are usually not as tough as they think. Velorth's smile vanished. He raised his weapon and aimed it at Mr. Grumbles. Then let me show you how tough I am. But before he could fire, Jiwoo pressed a button on the device in her hand. Nothing seemed to happen. Velorth laughed. Is that supposed to frighten me? No, Jiwoo said. It is supposed to turn off your shields and weapons. The electromagnetic pulse device her father had hidden in the school activated. It was old military technology, designed to disable electronic systems. Every piece of Kravix equipment in the area shut down. Weapons went dead. Armor shields collapsed. Even their communicators stopped working. Velorth looked at his useless weapon in shock. His elite guards stared at their own dead equipment. They were still dangerous, still strong. But now they had no technological advantage. And that was when Mr. Grumbles attacked. The honey badger launched himself at the nearest guard, going for the throat now that the armor shields were down. The guard fell screaming. Another guard tried to kick Mr. Grumbles away, but the honey badger twisted and bit his leg hard enough to break bone. Jiwoo ran for cover as the Kravix guards tried to grab her with their bare hands. But they were big and slow without their powered armor. She was small and fast. She dodged between them, firing her pistol at weak points in their armor. The shots did not kill them, but they hurt. And when things hurt, they slowed down. Velorth roared in fury and chased after Jiwoo. He cornered her against a wall and reached for her with his massive hands. This was it. This was the end. Jiwoo closed her eyes and thought of her parents. Then she heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Gunfire, human gunfire, and her father's voice shouting orders. Daehyun and the colonists burst into the school. They had followed the Kravix elite guard, waiting for the right moment. When the EMP went off and disabled the alien weapons, they attacked. It was not a fair fight anymore. The Kravix were bigger and stronger, but the humans had working guns and the Kravix did not. Daehyun shot Velorth 3 times in the back. The captain fell forward, missing Jiwoo by centimeters. The other colonists overwhelmed the elite guard. Without their technology, the Kraviks were just large targets. Felorth tried to get up, blood pouring from his wounds. He looked at Jiwoo with hatred in his eyes. This is not over. More will come. You cannot stop us all. Maybe, Jiwoo said. But we stopped you. And if anyone else comes here, we will stop them too. That is what humans do. We protect our families. Mr. Grumbles limped over and stood next to Jiwoo. The honey badger was covered in blood, some his own and some from the enemies he had fought. He looked up at Velorth and growled one last time. The Kravik's captain's eyes went wide, not with pain but with understanding. He finally realized what he had encountered. Not just a child, not just an animal, but something more dangerous than either alone. A human and an earth creature bonded together, willing to die for each other. What are you? Velorth whispered. We are family, Jiwoo answered. Daehyun pulled his daughter away from the dying Kravik's captain. He held her tight, checking her for injuries. Yujin came running in moments later, her medical bag bouncing against her hip. She dropped to her knees and hugged both Jiwoo and her husband. You are alive. You are both alive. Thank God you are alive. All around them, colonists were securing the captured Kraviks. Others were treating wounds and putting out fires. The battle was over. They had won. Against all odds, a small colony of farmers and shopkeepers had defeated a fleet of raiders. The remaining Kravik soldiers on the ground surrendered or fled to their ship. Felorth's second-in-command ordered an immediate retreat. The ship pulled away from Haven's Ridge, leaving behind equipment and even some of their own wounded. They wanted nothing more than to get away from this cursed world. As they jumped to hyperspace, the Kraviks sent a message to their fleet command. It was a warning. Avoid the human colony called Haven's Ridge. The humans there are dangerous. They fight with no fear of death. And they have creatures from their homeworld that are demons in small bodies. The warning spread to other pirate groups and raiders. Haven's Ridge became known as a place to avoid. Some species mocked the Kraviks for being defeated by farmers, but those who listened to the full story, who heard about the child and her honey badger, they understood. Humans were not easy prey. Days later, military ships from the core human worlds arrived. They brought supplies, medical personnel, and soldiers to protect the colony. They also brought reporters who wanted to hear the story of how Haven's Ridge survived. Jiwoo sat on the steps of the temporary shelter, scratching Mr. Grumbles behind his torn ear. The honey badger was healing slowly. Yujin had stitched his wounds and given him medicine. He would have scars, but he would survive. A reporter approached carefully. Jiwoo, everyone wants to know. How did you do it? How did a child and a small animal defeat trained soldiers?